All right, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to talk about functions. So a function is a block of code which only runs when it is called. You can pass data known as parameters into a function. A function can return data as a result. In Python, a function is defined using the def keyword. To call a function, use the function name followed by parentheses. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm inside of my Jupyter notebook here, and make sure that you're in the directory of desktop and then 03 Python basics. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on new Python 3 notebook, and we are going to label this 11 functions. Okay. All right, now let's create a function. Okay, so let's comment this out, creating a function. Okay, and then we're going to do def my underscore function, and then we'll return, and then we'll tab in and we'll do print hello from a function. Okay, and then let's run this, and it says invalid syntax. Okay, and we need to add a colon. Now let's run it. There you go. When we do that, it returns what it's supposed to, okay? Now, calling a function. To call a function, use the function name followed by parentheses, okay? So what we can do with that is you can use this same example, okay? And now we can actually print this. So let's do def again and do my function, my underscore function, okay? Colon, and then we're going to print hello from a function, okay? And then we're going to do my underscore function, okay? And then let's run that, hello from a function. So that's how you work with functions on a basic level of just creating a function and calling a function. Now we're going to talk about arguments. All right, arguments. So information can be passed into functions as arguments. Arguments are specified after the function name inside the parentheses. You can add as many arguments as you want, just separate them with a comma. The following example has a function with one argument, fname. When the function is called, we pass along a first name, which is used inside the function to print the full name. The terms parameter and argument can be used for the same thing, information that are passed into a function. By default, a function must be called with the correct number of arguments, meaning that if your function expects 2 arguments, you have to call the function with 2 arguments, not more and not less. Okay, so let's go back to our notebook and try this out. All right, so we're back in the notebook. So we're going to do that. We're going to run this example, and we're going to use the same def my function as an example. So let's run the full example off of that, and then we will, this is going to be a lot of fun. So let's do def my underscore function, and we're going to give it fname as a parameter. Okay, and then colon. We're going to hit return, and we're going to print fname plus Python. So we're going to do concatenation. So I'm going to do space Python, okay? And then we're going to do my function, my underscore function, and we'll do my name first. So we'll do Josh, and then we can do my underscore function, and then we'll do Bob, and then my underscore function, Jill. Okay, now when we print this or run it, it's going to say Josh Python. Okay, then it'll say Bob Python and then Jill Python. Okay, so let's run that. And there you go. Josh Python, Bob Python, and Jill Python. And so what we were doing is we gave it a parameter. Okay, so we said, look, when you grab this parameter, I want you to print it with the string Python, and when we use concatenation, which basically means you add a space and then you also blend the words together, basically, is concatenation, okay? And what you have to do is you have to create the space, because if you don't have a space in the quotes here, here's what will happen. The words will be bunched together. So always, always, always make sure that you add a space in there when you're concatenating words, strings, however you want to verbalize it. You want to make sure that you have that space in there, okay? And so like I said, when we called my function, we basically said, okay, I want you to call this function, my function, and then I want you to print fname, okay, which is my function, okay? So whatever parameter we put in here, Josh, Bob, and Jill, that's fname, okay? And then we wanted to add Python to that. So Josh, Bob, and Jill plus Python. And then each time we ran it, it was going to be separate. So it would be Josh Python first, then Bob Python, then Jill Python, which is what you see here, okay? And that's how you make the functions work together with arguments, okay? So there you go. So now let's go back to the PowerPoint. So now let's put 2 arguments into the function instead of 1, like we did with the previous example that you can see right here. Now we're going to run 2 arguments in there. So instead of just adding to this, let's keep that separate so that we can tell the difference. So let's comment this out and do, we'll comment this out with a hashtag, and we'll do 1 argument. Or 1 parameter, basically. Okay, so we're going to do, this time around, what we're going to do is instead of doing 1 argument, okay, which is what we did for the first one, we're going to do 2, okay? And so let's do that. So here's what we're going to type. It's going to be similar to what we did here, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to type in the following. We're going to do def, okay, my function, my underscore function, and then we're going to do first name, comma, last name, so L name, okay? And then we're going to put a colon in there, we're going to print, and we're going to do first name, space, plus, and then quotes with a space, and then another space, plus, last name, okay, so L name. All right, now, what we're going to do is when I write in my function, my underscore function, okay, the parameters that we're going to put in there are going to be Josh and then Python. Okay, so what is that going to do? Now you already know this because we did this with the 1 argument, so this is going to be 2 arguments or 2 parameters. So let's put 2 parameters in there, or arguments. So we'll do 2 parameters, okay, and this is going to be 1 parameter. Okay, so what that's going to do is first name is Josh, last name is Python. And why is that? Because when we type in Josh first, this is the order that it's in. So first name is first, then last name. Now, if I put in Python here, then it would be Python Josh, okay? And if I put Bob, it'd be Bob Python. So whatever is put here first in this parameter, this is going to be printed first, okay? And then Python will be second based on its position. So now let's run this, see what happens. Josh Python. So there you go. So that's how you can do it. So that's how you run 2 arguments instead of 1, or 2 parameters instead of 1. All right. So with that, let's go back to the PowerPoint. All right. So now we're going to talk about arbitrary arguments, or arg. So if you do not know how many arguments that will be passed into your function, add the little star symbol before, or asterisk, before the parameter name in the function definition. This way, the function will receive a tuple of arguments and can access the items accordingly. Keyword arguments. You can also send arguments with the key equal value syntax. This way, the order of the arguments does not matter. arbitrary keyword arguments, KW-args. If you do not know how many keyword arguments that will be passed into your function, add 2 asterisks, okay, before the parameter name in the function definition. This way the function will receive a dictionary of arguments and can access the items accordingly. All right, so let's jump back into our notebook and take a look at this example. All right, so let's take a look at an example of this, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to do the following here. We're going to do DEF, okay, so definition, my function, my underscore function, and then we're going to do asterisk kids. So let's do asterisk kids, okay, and then we'll do a colon, space, we're going to do print, the youngest child is, and then we'll do a space after the quote there, plus kids, and we're going to do 4. Okay. And then we'll do my underscore function, okay, and we're going to do Bob, Jill, Python, and then we're going to do, let's do JavaScript. Okay, I know those are really interesting kids' names. So let's run that and take a look and see what happened here. Okay, so basically it's saying it threw a whole bunch of errors, which is fine. So what we're going to do is let's adjust this a little bit. And we'll just put 3 names in there instead of 4, okay? And let's add the number 2 in there, okay? And actually, no, we're going to add the number. Okay, wait, let me undo that. I know why it doesn't work. We typed in the wrong number. So I'm going to type in 3 instead of 4. And now the youngest child is JavaScript. Now, how does it know that? It's going based on the list, okay? So how did it determine that? It's saying this, okay? So I put 4 in, and that's why we got a huge error, okay? So the reason why this doesn't work is because it's going 4, 3, 2, 1, or 3, 2, 1, 0. So that's how it's determining who the youngest child is. And here I typed in 4, but there's only 3 children that are the oldest, okay? One of them has to be younger, so I had to put the number 3 in instead of 4. That's why it didn't work. So we fixed that, and once I typed in the number 3, well, then what it's going to do is Bob is the oldest, Jill is the second oldest, Python is the third oldest, and JavaScript is the youngest. So that's how it determined that, okay? So that's how you do that. Now we're going to talk about the keyword arguments. So you can also send arguments with the key equals value syntax. This way, the order of the arguments does not matter, okay? So for this example, let's go down here to another block of code, and let's do def my underscore function, and we're going to do child 3, comma, child 2, child 1. Do a colon, and then we're going to print the youngest child is, space that, and then do another space here with a plus, and then child 3, and then we're going to use the same parameters. So we're going to do my function, okay, and we'll do child 1 equals Bob, okay? Child 2, we're going to do comma, then we'll do child 2 equals Jill, okay? And then child 3, and we need to add the comma there, child 3 equals Python, okay? Now, what we're going to get out of this is what? We only have 3 children. So what is it going to do? This is child 1, so he's the oldest. This is child 2, second oldest. And which one is the youngest? Python. So when I run this, we should have the youngest child is Python. Okay, now, if I add another child to this, So if we do child 4, okay, and then we add child 4 equals JavaScript, what's going to happen? The oldest is still Bob, the second oldest is still Jill, Python is the third oldest, and JavaScript now is the youngest, but I broke the code, and let's see why. Okay, so the youngest child is 3, so that's Python. However, I need to change this to 4. Now when I run it, okay, let me see here. Child 4 equals JavaScript. Invalid syntax. Okay, so what it's saying is child 4 okay, so what we'll do is I'm just going to undo this, and we'll take it back to child 3. So you get the idea. Okay, let's run that. Okay, so the youngest child is going to be Python. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that because, again, sometimes we get bugs here. So, all right, let's talk about arbitrary keyword arguments. So KW args, so arbitrary keyword, so keyword args. So if you do not know how many keyword arguments that will be passed into your function, add 2 asterisks, okay? So if the number of keyword arguments is unknown, add a double asterisk before the parameter name. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do that here. So we're going to do def my underscore function, okay, and we're going to add 2 asterisks this time, and then kid, and then we're going to add a colon, return that, we're going to print, and then we're going to do his last name is space, and then space again, space, kid, and then we're going to do L name. Okay, and then after that, we're going to do my underscore function. Okay, and then we're going to give it the parameter. So we'll do first name equals Python with a comma, and then last name equals Josh. We'll just use that as an example. So when I print that, what's going to happen? It's going to give me a whole bunch of errors. Okay, well, come on, man. Okay, I got it. Syntax error on my part. I forgot to put these in parentheses. There we go. Because we didn't define, it's saying that kid is not defined. Now if I run it again, it still gives me an error. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So we're going to do 2 asterisks, and that's why it's not working, because I typed in K. We need to type in kid. Now let's run it. Okay, his last name is Josh, okay? So what we did here is we added 2 asterisks in there, and then we gave it the parameters. So his last name is plus kid, and then L name is the parameter, okay? And then we gave the parameter of L name a value, which was Josh, okay? And then the first name, since we weren't looking for the first name, we're looking for the last name, or the second name, then his last name is Josh, okay? So now let's jump back over to the PowerPoint. All right, welcome back to the PowerPoint, and now we're going to talk about passing a list as an argument. So you can send any data types of argument to a function, string, number, list, dictionary, etc. It will be treated as the same data types inside the function. Return values. To let a function return a value, use the return statement. The pass statement, function definitions cannot be empty, but if you are, for some reason, have a function definition with no content, put in the pass statement to avoid getting an error, okay? So let's look at both of these now in the code. Okay, so let's look at passing a list as an argument, okay? So that's going to be the first one we're going to do here, and so what I want you to do is we're going to type in this. So we're going to do def, again, my underscore function. We're going to do food, and then add a colon after that, return it, for x in food, colon, and then print x, okay? And then we got to give fruits and not even fruits, we're going to add fruits. Okay, so we're going to do fruits equals, and we're going to do apple, banana, in quotes, and then comma, and then banana. Banana. There we go. See if I can spell. And then cherry. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to call my function, my underscore function, and then we're going to call fruits. Okay, and then when I print this, it's going to print apple, banana, and cherry. Okay, so I run that, and there you go. Apple, banana, and cherry. Okay, so that's how you pass a list of, passing a list as an argument. Okay, now return values. To let a function return a value, use the return statement. Okay, so what that's going to do is it's going to return a value. Okay, so with this, we're going to use numbers. So we could do def, my underscore function, and do x, and then colon, and return 10 times x. Okay, and then we can do print my underscore function, and then we're going to do, let's give it a value of 20. And then the same thing, we're going to do print my underscore function and do 40. And then print my underscore function, and we'll do 15. And what it's going to do is it's going to add 10 times 20 times 40 times 15 individually. And you'll see that once we run it. Okay. So when I run it, we got 10 times 20 is 200, 10 times 40 is 400, and 10 times 15 is 150. Okay. So that's how you run that example. So that's how you return values, and you let the function return a value, okay, with the return statement. Now the pass statement, okay, function definitions cannot be empty, but if you, for some reason, have a function definition with no content, put the pass statement in to avoid getting an error. So what you would do here is you would just type in pass so you don't get an error, okay, because I'll show you that first. So if we do def my function, okay, and then colon, and we do nothing, so let's just run it. It's going to unexpected EOF while parsing, okay? Now, if I type in pass and then run it, what happens? We don't get an error, okay? There you go. So that's how you work with the pass statement. So now let's go back to the PowerPoint and learn some more about functions. All right, welcome back to the PowerPoint. Now we're going to talk about recursion. So Python also accepts function recursion, which means a defined function can call itself. Recursion is a common mathematical and programming concept. It means that a function calls itself. This has the benefit of meaning that you can loop through data to reach a result. The developer should be very careful with recursion, as it can be quite easy to slip into writing a function which never terminates, or one that uses excess amounts of memory or process power. However, when written correctly, recursion can be a very efficient and mathematically elegant approach to programming. Look at an example. Try recursion is a function that we have defined to call itself recurse. We use the k variable as the data, which decrements -1 every time we recurse. The recursion ends when the condition is not greater than 0, i.e. when it is 0. Okay, so let's run that example in the code. All right, so let's run that example. So what we're going to do is we're going to do def, and we're going to try recursion k, okay, and then colon, and we'll do if k is greater than 0. Okay, and then we'll put a colon there, and we're going to give it the result. So let's do result equals k plus try recursion, and then k minus 1. Okay, and then let's print result. And then we're going to do else. Then we'll do else result equals 0, return result. And then we'll print n recursion example results. And then we're going to do 6. So we want 6 to print. Okay, now we could do, let's do 10. Why not? So let's do, instead of 6, let's do 10. So we'll do recursion and then 10. Okay, now when I print this, we should get 10 results. Okay, so let's hit run. And that's if I type it in correctly. I have a syntax error. Oh no. So let me check my syntax here. So if I move this back, let's see if I can. Okay, let's move else back. And then let's move return result. Okay, and then return, we're going to put that with else. And then when I print it, I want it to be over here. And same with this. Okay, I want that to be there. So now let's run it. And there you go. So once my syntax is correct, then it should print. And there you go. So you get 10 running numbers or examples. Okay, but if we did 100, what's that going to do? It's going to run 100 of them. Okay, and that's what they're saying is if you use this for the wrong reason, you could really burn up your processing and memory if you run a lot of these. So just make sure that you have control over that when you're using this, because it can kind of bog down your system. Okay, so that is recursion. All right, and that in a nutshell, in a detailed nutshell, is how you use functions with Python. All right, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.